I'm usually going.
Ain't nobody talking to you.
Quiet on the set.
Sure, Luke don't like to listen. You don't like to listen.
Hello, hi. Yeah. We are live. Welcome, everyone. We are live. We are live. We are here for the first in the debate series. This is the BK Rant Rave. Can I rant? First and foremost, I have to say to everybody, happy Father's Day, everyone. And happy Father's Day to my guest today, George Glean Sr., who just happens to be my father. Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Thank you, dear. Thank you very much.
Well, I know Father's Day is a day you're supposed to be resting and basking in all of the good works that you have done throughout the year, and I'm putting it to work.
I'm basking. I'm basking.
I'm putting you to work to debate. So we started our debate series because we thought, there are a lot of issues that are debated throughout the Caribbean diaspora in the homes of Caribbean people. And we said, we can highlight some of these. And, some of them are not so stressful. Some of them are not so serious. But there are things that are talked about, and we want to give a good platform where people can really talk about them. And we said, why not start with us? And I think on Father's Day is a really good day to tackle this topic. So let me introduce my guest. So my guest is George Glean Sr. George Glean Sr. is a teacher, a Caribbean historian, self-taught. He is also an author. He has been on a co-host of mine on Soca Say So's Tune Tuesday several times. And I'll be honest, every time you come on Tune Tuesday, everybody says, why don't you have your dad on more? Because you give us the history behind Calypso and Soca music, which is really hard to find. So I appreciate you for giving us that knowledge. And now I'm gonna introduce our topic. Our topic today: can you claim the Caribbean if you were not born in the Caribbean?
Okay.
I have been told many times already. As soon as I posted this, I've been told many, many, many times that yes, this is an issue that we argue about incessantly in the Caribbean community.
True.
And so I really want to make sure that we do this one justice. So I'm going to tell everybody the rules. This is what we're going to do. We're going to flip a coin for who goes first. And then the person who goes first gets up to 5 minutes to present their argument of what they think. Do they think that you can claim your Caribbean status if you were not born in the Caribbean or not? And then the other person gets a rebuttal of 5 minutes time maximum. Mm-hmm. And then we get to discuss and go for point over, what the other person said and go through notes. So I have my paper here. I have my pen.
How do you spin the coin or whatever now? Okay.
I'm just going to flip the coin. So you get to call it heads or tails.
All right.
So call it.
Heads.
It's heads. So do you want to go first or you want to go second?
I want to go second.
All right.
You go first.
All right. So I am going to argue that you can claim the Caribbean if you are not born there.
Okay.
My overarching belief is that being of the Caribbean is being of the culture. Right. And so I really think if the only thing if how you were brought up, if how you live your life, if what you know is Caribbean culture, then that's what you are. And I will have to say more specifically. So we're talking generally Caribbean culture, but specifically, if you are living within a culture of a specific island, a specific Caribbean country, then that is what you are, even if you actually reside outside of the Caribbean. So for instance, I would say that as a child, both of my parents were Grenadian, born in Grenada, raised in Grenada until they were adults. And so they were Grenadian. And so in my household, even though I was born in America, in my household, I was a Grenadian because I ate food the way Grenadians prepare the food. I approach situations the way a Grenadian would approach a situation. So I grew up on folklore. I grew up on calypso, soca, and reggae. I grew up on knowing how to dress and how to clean yourself, how to groom yourself the Grenadian way. I grew up with how to learn and do your work the Grenadian way. My parents did not know how to teach me math the way that my teacher was teaching me math. They taught me the way they learned math, right? Which at sometimes was completely different, and I was totally confused because it's not the way my teacher was teaching me. It's not the grammar my teacher uses. I know that my vernacular includes very highbrow British language at some points, which I think are normal in lay terms, but because that's how people in Grenada speak. But in America, that's not a normal thing to say. That's a different level of speak, right? So it is the way I grew up in my household. I was not taught the American way. I was not taught American values because there was no one to teach me American values. My parents were Grenadian, and that's the information I got. So I consider myself Grenadian. I do, before you even get to tell me no, I would say that there are people who would give you a test to say if you are Grenadian or if you're Caribbean or not. And they ask you, who's the prime minister, what's the capital, what's the this, what's the that. And I will tell you, there are people in my country, America, live who do not know the answers to those things at different times. So knowing history of the country you live in or knowing even current events is not enough to say that you are of that country. I think it is your cultural identity, what you are aligned with, that serves to say where you are from and if you can claim that country. I would also say that how you approach a situation, how you approach different situations is giving you have what your ancestors have done, and you know that what people in your situations have done from other places. West Indian Grenadians that I know would not tell other people their business. And so you don't go to school and tell everybody everything that happened in your household. You don't go to work and tell them everything you do when you're not at work. And that means that I'm not being an American, because an American will tell you every single thing that just happened in their household last night. So I know I can't be 100% American. I am definitely Grenadian because I have the cultural identity of my ancestors flowing through me, of what they did and how they approach situations, right? I would not go from the shower straight to outside on a cold winter day, because that's how Grenadians think. Don't get yourself wet and then go in the cold, right? So cultural identity is what I link to say that I am 100% Grenadian. And I think we could talk later after you give your argument. We'll also break down percentages and things. I consider myself lucky because both of my parents are from the same place. So I say I'm 100% Grenadian. Whereas if they weren't from the same place, then we have another discussion of, do we break down percentages, or just do you choose one? But I'm gonna stop there. And I'm gonna give you your time. to give your argument of why you don't agree with me. Why don't you agree that?
I'm not. Okay, you are going down a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So you tell us why you don't agree that being born outside of the Caribbean, you can't possibly be of the Caribbean.
Okay. Well, obviously I am at a grave disadvantage because you happen to be my daughter and I raised you. But at the same time, removing myself from it, looking at it more generally, I would have to differ from you. Okay, I have to give credit where credit is due. The people we're talking about, the parents, they were born to Caribbean people. But I think for the most part, it begins and it ends there. The reason why it begins and ends there is because once a child is born in the United States of America of Caribbean parentage, the child automatically becomes a US citizen. And this colors everything differently. The parents begin to look at the children differently because they were born here, they're Americans, and they could get a lot of advantages because of that. Then we move on from there. The crux of the matter begins with school. The children now move on from that closed environment that you just so glibly spoke about, the Canadian environment or Jamaican, Trinidad, whatever it might be. Now they're exposed to going to school. The first thing that happens, there is a bullying that takes place where the children are laughed at because of the way they talk, because we do speak differently from the Americans, the way they dress, and the foods that they eat. So the parents, in most instances, are scared for the children to go out exposing that kind of culture that you so eloquently spoke about. So once the child gets out there, they are forced now to come back and regroup. They have to start talking like an American so that the other kids could understand them, so that the teachers could understand them. They have to start dressing differently. And sooner rather than later, everybody wants McDonald's and pizza. Nobody wants the saltfish and the fig or the bananas, to be rather polite. Nobody wants the yam. Nobody wants. So everybody moves away from that. So because of that, what I just mentioned, the children are moving away from whatever culture or food or clothes that you put in front of them. You are a little bit lucky if you kept your thing for a much longer period. I don't know, probably your parents were a little bit more stricter or whatever the case might be, and you were able to hold it. But because of this, the children are more immersed in the American culture than the Caribbean culture. And this is the basic difference, the immersion of the culture, because there's nothing that's telling you to stay. Even your parents, in most instances, I have specific examples, especially of people from the Haitian community, because it's not that they don't just speak English, they speak Creole, so the English had a completely different accent. And I know parents who want the children don't speak the Creole. So even when they come back in the house, after a couple of years, they cannot even have a conversation with their own parents, because now they're the other way around. Now, besides that, so we're talking about from kindergarten to college, the children are being programmed to be a different person. So once you step inside the house, you are Caribbean. Once you step out, you're American. And this is a a great problem for most of the children. So in order to be a Caribbean person, as you said, you must be steeped in the culture. But most West Indian children, they have the essence of the Caribbean, but they don't have the full flavor. Caribbean children could tell you about they eat oil dung, but they cannot even tell you what a breadfruit is, what a breadfruit tree looks like. They have no idea. So and that's what I mean about the essence. So they could tell you about certain things because they hear it from the household, but what it really means, they are at a loss. But they could talk about hamburgers, they could talk about the pizza. That's what they want to eat every minute. And so their language change, their dress habit change, and their food changes. And there's nothing the parent could do about it. But after a time, I'm just not eating that again. Now, if they have to take food to school, it makes it even worse. But what are you eating there? You don't want to say the name? Roti? What is roti? You know, and it's so messy. So you tell your parents, no, from tomorrow, I don't want no rotis to go to school. But that's all I have. But it's okay. I'm going to just go to school and I don't eat. So I think this is the major difference. And that's why I claim to say that you are born from Caribbean parents, but you are forced to be immersed yourself. You have to immerse yourself in the culture, in the mode of speech, and in the manner of dress. Therefore, you are more Americanized. No, you are more American than you are Caribbean. So I could stop here and we could go on a little bit more.
Great. I hear you, but here's the issue I have. I think if you are the Caribbean is even though there are several islands that make up the Caribbean, right, and make up the Caribbean culture, it is so small in relation to the planet, in relation to all the populated spaces,
Right.
that the Caribbean, and they have so few resources as opposed to the larger countries, that I don't think the Caribbean even should even try to deny anybody citizenship or cultural connectedness, especially since people who are born to the parents that are born in the Caribbean, who actually want to keep that culture, even though they have a whole new one that they are exposed to, a whole different thing that they are completely immersed in on a daily basis. If you actually want to keep that, why is it that there are so many people who are ready to dash that away? Oh, no. She's not Grenadian. She's American. Oh, no. They're not Jamaican. No, when last you went back to Guyana? When last you went back to Barbados? You don't know anything about that. How long did you stay there? You stayed there a weekend? You were at a hotel? I mean, why are they so easy to dash away people who are trying to hold on to the culture and keep the traditions alive as well? Because you're not just saying you're Caribbean, you want to keep the tradition, you want to keep the foods, keep the music, keep the philosophies, you want to keep the traditions alive. So why is it that people are so ready to let that go?
Well, I think it goes both ways. Because again, there is an acronym that they use in Grenada, especially for people who lived in America, not necessarily being born, but went to America and come back. They usually first as JCBs, they just come back. And the reason for this is when they go back, they put on an air of superiority over the locals. That everything that happens, if I was in America, if I were in America, it would be different. A case in point.
Oh, we lost you.
Shia?
Just pick it up. Just pick it up. We lost you. As Uncle G gets his screen back up, I'm gonna go back and really wait. Let me get the gallery view back up. I'm gonna go back in and talk to you guys. So
Okay, I think
you're
I'm
back.
back.
That was quick.
Yeah,
I didn't even get a chance to to change the topic. Go ahead.
No, I think I don't think it's the locals that's going against the people that's coming back. I think the people that's coming back, they have too much an air of superiority, of sophistication. Everything is different, but everything was different when you went into America in the first place, or in England. So now you're in America, you have to wait for the bus, you have to wait for the train, and things you have to wait. The stores open a little later. In the place, the stores close 4 o'clock, and everything you take umbrage to. Why they have to close 4 o'clock? Why they can't stay open 6 o'clock? Why we can't find some place to eat? So I think the onus is on the person who was, especially those who were born in America. It's even worse, much more than those that just came up for a few weeks and went back down. Because the people, as I say again, that you come back and your mode of speech is completely different. You even say, huh? Everything, I can't understand what he's saying. What is he saying? Explain it to me. So I don't want to deal with that. Why have to keep on repeating myself like that? So I think if the people that's up here, when they go back to whatever island or country they go back to, if they could just simmer down a little bit, I think that might make things a lot easier and better to accept them. And I think that's where the problem comes in.
And I would argue that I don't even know what's different. I don't know what's to simmer down. I come back to the islands to learn about what you're doing right now. But even though I'm learning the daily process of, what times the stores open and close, and know how to talk to people in the market to get what I want, even though I have to learn those things, I am fundamentally of you. I am fundamentally at the base level. I belong here. I am of you. And I just need a little refresher of what's going on at the moment, but I am from this culture. And so please do not deny me, because I want to represent you throughout the world wherever I go. And so if that means if I, when I go to a party in Houston, I want to wave my Vinci flag, because I want people in Vinci to know, in Houston, to know that there is a country of proud, strong people in St. Vincent, and we represent hard. I want to go to, a party in London, and I'm going to wave my Bayesian flag, because I want them to know that even though it's a tiny island, we have such a strong history and such a strong culture that we will bring it everywhere we go. And so I may not know every single thing, and I may not know that Miss Patsy is the best one that makes the whatever it is, that makes the best roti or whatever. I may not know that from that area, but I do know X, Y, and Z about my island and about my history. And I don't deny me, because what happens is that you say, oh, I am Trini, and someone then all of a sudden says, no. Where are you born? You were born in Philadelphia? No, you're not Trini. You're not Trini at all. When last you went Trinidad? And then they start giving you the full quiz. And if you cannot pass the full quiz, then you do not belong from there. Meanwhile, we all know that to have voices all over the world, representation matters, right? So if I'm not sitting in New York and I don't say, somebody please make sure that we take into account that there's a Grenadian culture and we need to do certain things to represent the Grenadian people, no one's going to do it, right? So if you're denying me and I deny my culture, then that Grenadian culture is not going to go further than the borders of Grenada. So why
True.
do people feel the need to keep denying you? I would even go further, right? So I said we'd talk about the percentages, right?
Right.
So if someone is born, let's just say in America, one of their parents is Haitian and the other parent is Jamaican, then can they say they're Haitian and Jamaican? And I would say yes. And what I've seen is a lot of people would say, well, my Jamaican dad always, took me to Jamaica, always made the food, always did this X, Y, and Z. And so I really resonate with Jamaicans, but my mom was Haitian and she never spoke Creole and she never made any Haitian food. And so I don't know nothing about Haitian. So I'm not Haitian. So I would say they're still Haitian and Jamaican, but I would assume your argument would be they are neither.
I think this is where it comes in. What arguing from your point of view, I think it's a little bit different from when we generalize it. Because you, as an individual, would want to go back in Grenada and be a Grenadian as much as you can. But most people, again, because of what I said earlier, they themselves, this is the problem. They don't see themselves much as Caribbean.
Right.
The only time they see themselves as Caribbean is Labor Day in Brooklyn. And they jump, no pun intended, they jump and they grab the flag and they wave it on Eastern Parkway. But for a day and for one day only. The next day, they go back to their job and they begin to talk to their friends again. Yesterday I was Jamaican. Today I am back, I'm American or Yankee as it's colloquially called. So that's why I think, and I wish probably a lot of people who were really born up here from Caribbean parentage could have had access to what we're talking about today. Because I think it is necessary, as you said, because the countries are so small, that they need the representation. But most people are unwilling to give them the representation. Because it's only within recent years, people will be proudly saying, I'm from Jamaica. Or now, the last time I went to Grenada, I met a couple at the airport, white couple, and they say, oh, we're traveling to Grenada. Yeah? Oh, my daughter is going to SGU because there's a medical school in Grenada. Most of these kids cannot get into the medical schools here. It's easier for them to get down there. Now, they'll still be doctors, but it's easier for them to go to these schools. So now everybody knows a little bit more about Grenada. The first time they knew was when Reagan invaded Grenada a couple of years ago, a long time ago, and now because of SGU. So sometimes you have more foreigners bigging up the smaller countries than Grenadians themselves. And I think it's time we see ourselves more as Caribbean people and not link ourselves with that, because it's easy to submerge yourself here and be lost. Oh, you're a Yankee, but you're Grenada. Anybody from Grenada? You put in your hand and you're looking around, and you pull it down. The Jamaicans usually, because anywhere you go, England, US, anywhere, they're the majority because they're big islands to begin with. But for the smaller islands, especially the St. Vincent, the Grenada, the Dominica, very, very few people are willing to admit, even if they weren't born here.
Right.
And if they were born here, well, then, according to the Creole, c'est plus fort, I can talk a little Creole to us.
This chick, this chick is in the chat on YouTube live, and she's saying, if your parents don't instill the culture in you or pass down the history, how will you get that pride? And I think that's, a lot of people have to. We found that a lot of people have to find it on their own. They have to do their own research. They have to do their own travel.
But you see, but this comes back to what I said initially. The parents want the children to get everything American they could get. Because I came from Grady here. I'm not exposed. I don't know what's happening. I don't know how to find jobs. I know nothing. And you, as my child, get a chance to reap these benefits. I want to push you every way I can to get it. Even if you're speaking differently when you come home to me, it's okay. If you don't want to eat our foods again, it's okay. And there are many Caribbean homes like that. I am willing to sacrifice whatever it is that I knew in that little island to give my child that break, that big break. You could imagine my child is a doctor, my child is a lawyer. It cannot get bigger than that. And that's the only how it could get like that. So although the parents, sometimes they might know the little they know or the great that they know, they don't want to give it to the child. Why am I doing that? I'm cutting my nose off to spoil my face. I can't do that. I think this is the problem. The parents are faced with a dilemma. And as I said, especially with the Haitian, and I'm using that because I know that example. Because you're going to school, even if you're speaking regular English from Grenada, Jamaica, or Trinidad, they can't understand you.
Mm-hmm.
Far less you add the Creole accent to that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to wipe that away as quickly as you can. So the first chance you get to say that I am not Haitian, without saying it. So in other words, just that's your speech,
right,
and your dress, and people see it as, oh, okay, she is one of them.
Right.
She is no longer one of us. And
I think there's different levels to the conversation then. So then there's the level with your parents, right? The parents of second generation people. So you're born outside of the Caribbean. Your parents are trying to give you every advantage that you can.
Yeah.
Yes, but then you go through living your American Caribbean lifestyle.
Okay.
And then you meet a random person who's from the Caribbean and they say, oh, you're American. And it is like, to me, it is like a slap in the face, a stab in the heart. Like, why are you throwing me away like this? No, I am West Indian. Because when I say, somebody mentioned this today on Instagram, as soon as somebody asks you where you're from, you say, I'm from New York, and they go, where you from? And so then now you must go back wherever you can and find some other country to give them, right? So now you say, oh, okay, where I'm from? Well, my parents are from Grenada. I'm Grenadian. And then that same person wants to say, what? Whoops, no, you're not Grenadian. You're American. Were you born there? And then we go through the litmus test. And so the level after the parents, who, okay, we can say your parents are trying to give you advantages and they're trying to help you succeed in the new land, wherever you are. If you're in England, if you're in the States,
right,
they're trying to help you succeed. So now the next layer is this random person you meet who tells you, despite what you're telling them, despite how you want to identify, they are telling you, no, sir, no, ma'am, you are not Caribbean because you weren't born there. You didn't play pick up sticks by so-and-so. You didn't climb that mango tree. You don't know nothing about that scraping your knee up top that hill. You don't know anything about that. So you are not Katishan. And so what is that? To me, I say, I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say. I am Grenadian. And I could, because of my familial heritage, I can say I'm Grenadian. My child can say they're Grenadian. They can find that lineage. So I will base it on the culture that I live in and the lineage. What would you say if someone said they went and they lived on an island for 5 years and so now they are that? Does that person get to say,
That they're Grenadian?
Yeah. I lived in Grenada for 8 years. I'm Grenadian.
That's another level again. If the person, usually the people that come to live on an island for an extended period of time, they're usually white. So I think that again puts another quote on it again.
Yep.
If they come back and they're black, because when I was growing up in Grenada, for example, there were no Jamaicans ever living on the island. Now, Jamaicans leave Jamaica and come to Grenada and live in Grenada.
Right.
People leave Grenada, go to Barbados, and live in Barbados now.
Yes.
I don't know about the citizenship or the citizenry should be a little bit different because of the CARICOM with the free flow of people back and forth within the islands. So I think there is a little bit more tolerance towards people coming from the other islands and living there now. It's not that there's no stigma attached to it as there used to be at one time. But if the person is white, you automatically assume that this person could never be Grenadian. I don't care how long they live there. And even if sometimes they begin to speak like the Grenadians, but they still see them as non-Grenadian.
I think we can just raise our hands and just say slavery.
Well,
it messes up so much, right? Because the whole thing was the colonizers were people who came from somewhere else. They lived there. They formed a government there. They formed lives. They had children. They had generations of children, and they would say to themselves, "Oh no, I'm British. Oh, I am Dutch.
Yeah.
I am not Grenadian. I don't know. We're talking about Portuguese." They will hold on to that for generations.
Yeah.
So why is it that the Black people that live there or born elsewhere, why can't they hold on to that identity? And I mean, I would agree that if somebody's white and they come and they live in a place for X amount of years does not make them that place, right? So if a white person from Minnesota moves to Brooklyn and lives there for 5 years, I'm not gonna say you're a New Yorker. You're not a New Yorker yet. But
they say that to themselves. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Right. So I'm definitely not gonna give them you're a Grenadian. If I'm gonna have an extended time before you to be a New Yorker, I'm definitely not gonna give away Grenadian identity and culture that quickly, even though they probably live there and they know exactly what time Miss Patsy closes and how much she does charge for
they know everything. Yeah. And as I say, they speak just like the local people, you know, just to get what they need, and they can switch at any time to go back to the other way also. But I think this is part of the problem again is the Caribbean itself being so divided. This Grenadian and the Trinidadian and the Vinci, and that is another layer of complication. Instead of the islands of the Caribbean or the United States of the Caribbean, you know, I think that might have done a little bit different. But you have to hold on, as you say, to that niche, and it's so tiny. Where you from? I'm from the West Indies. No, and the same question. No, I mean, where you from?
Yeah.
Then you have to say, well, Grenada. Oh, Grenada, or Jamaica, or something like that. So you're always left clinging. So when you do get a chance to hold on to that big USA, that's it.
Right.
It gives you that fuller identity, and it's easier for you to just drop off that just by being able to speak a little differently and being able to dress. Well, but dress, it's not even that bigger deal as it used to be. But it's all of that.
Well,
But I think
go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah. Now you go.
No, I was just saying that the carnival in itself, I think, does. I mean, it's very sparse. It comes once a year or whatever the case might be. But I think it has done a lot to make West Indians realize that there's a little bit more. Yes, there is something to us, the culture. I come along, I walk on the park, I could get all these different foods, and they're from that one region. You know, you get roti here, you get rice and peas over there, you get callaloo there, you get, and things. So I think if you do more cultural events, I think that could help in assuaging some of these things that we're talking about.
All right. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I don't know if it was yesterday or today. Michael B. Jordan, you know the actor, Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He started promoting his rum, and he has named the rum Juve. And there's a big controversy because he has trademarked the name Juve for his rum company. And the concept behind the rum and the rum name, they did reference emancipation in Trinidad and the cultural exuberance around emancipation and the awakening after emancipation. And so there's a big uproar of how dare he trademark a term for a cultural identifying thing for Trinidadians. And so then it's like, okay, well, is he connected to somebody from Trinidad? Because then that will make it make sense. But I wonder if I did something and I named it, if I was the one that created the rum that was Pure Jab, Tall Breeze Jab rum, if I called my rum Pure Jab, our Grenadians going to be up in arms because I'm not really Grenadian and I'm not really from there, and I'm over here profiting over the people thing. Right. Like, how far do we go from here? Is it just because if he said that his grandmother is Trinidadian, would that make it make sense? Would you say, okay, he is Trinidadian now because his grandmother's Trinidadian? Or is it that he just has zero ties to it? So it would have been interesting to know if I had my rum and I said, this is Pure Jab and I am rum. And if Grenadians would say, how dare she is not actually Grenadian.
I think part of the problem here is with the copywriting people. I think sometimes they don't do the homework. It's just like Pan. Pan was born in Trinidad. I mean, how many years are we talking about? Yet, a Japanese company, whoever was willing to go and trademark, and they almost stole that away from Trinidad. I don't think that if something is as cultural as Pan, as Juve, as Jab Jab, they should be well aware so that I can't just come and say, well, they didn't do it. It was 5 million years. And then they come to us and say, you have to trademark it. So then I could just come and do it too. I don't think that that's possible. Mm-hmm. They could do the research now and see that this Juve has something to do with the carnivals, with the slavery in the Caribbean, whether it be Trinidad, Grenada, or wherever it is. Because Juve is a slave thing compared to all the islands. And I would, because Michael Jordan or anybody just coming, okay, I would have named it that way, and I want you to trademark. Oh, they look, nobody has trademarked it before. Okay, so go with that. No, that's different from just a regular name. You call it something Juve, Pure Jab, stuff like that. That should be something belonging to the country, and you can't just trade it away to an individual like that. That would be my argument on something.
So you don't care if he could trace his lineage to Trinidad or not. That is not even part of the conversation.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should be able to trade back that name for themselves. That is something Caribbean. It's not just Trinidad. That's what I'm saying. It's not just Trinidad. It's not just Grenada. It is connected with slavery, with West Indian slavery, and this is different from American slavery. You know, so that and this is what. So if I went there for the same thing, they should tell me no.
Right.
So I'm not saying not because it's Michael B. Jordan.
Right.
This is pure culture and pure heritage, and that should not be allowed to be messed around with.
Excellent. So I want to open a conversation to anybody who's watching us on the live right now. This is the BK Rant and Rave Can I Rant Debate. This is the first debate of the debate series. And of course, on Father's Day, I had to debate my father. This is George Glean Sr. is here talking to me. And please take a few seconds, put your comments in the chat room. What are your thoughts on if you can claim being Caribbean if you were not born there? Does it make any difference how many generations removed you are from living on an island? Can you wave your flag? Can you say I am of the Caribbean if you were not born there? Is this a conversation that you have had in your household? I'd love to know if this is a conversation you have, because this is a conversation that we had. I mean, growing up, we had different levels, at different stages in life. You're saying, I'm an American. And then another stage, you're like, wait, no, I'm Grenadian.
Right.
Why are you denying me? Oh, no, you're not Grenadian because we were born there. We know how things were. We know, and my overarching argument has always been, I am Grenadian because that is the only culture I've grown up in, right? And even in that, it is not true, right? Because I did go to school in America. Right. I did have friends that were 100% American. So that is not 100% true. I am definitely straddling two worlds, an American identity and a Caribbean identity, but I never ever want to leave out that Caribbean part of me. I do not want to give anybody the satisfaction of erasing that from my identity. But I want to know what you guys are thinking. Have you ever had such a debate with your friends, with a stranger, with your family members? And what has been your stance? Whose side are you on this coin? Do you agree with the arguments? Because I'm not going to say this is your actual thought process, but with the arguments that you have presented that no, you are not Caribbean if you are not born there, or do you agree that yes, even if you are not born in the Caribbean, you can still claim to be Caribbean? Which side are you guys landing on? We've only got a couple more minutes here to have this discussion. I see that Brooklyn Psycho, hi Brooklyn Psycho. Brooklyn Psycho noted that he's chiming in on the what is it called? The Juve rum. He's chiming in on Juve rum, and he's saying, honestly, if it was a West Indian person that made the rum and called it Juve, nobody would have made a noise. And it would have just been sold and consumed, and that's it. And it's only because he's a celebrity and he's not West Indian, as far as we know, that everybody's up in arms. But I already posted today on Soca Say So that if we're going to have the conversation about Juve and Juve rum, we need to have the conversation about steel pan, calypso, and soca, because there are a million things called calypso out there that have nothing to do with the actual Caribbean identity. There are a lot of things called soca out there. If you Google it, you will find things that are called calypso and soca. And so we really need to protect the culture on a whole. And really, the government should be doing that. And
that's where the problem again comes in, because you have a fight within the Caribbean islands of what belongs to me and what belongs to me. This is treaty. You can't take that from me. That's we think. So then the Grenadian will say, well, this is. So if you had like that's why there was once upon a time something called the West Indian Federation. If it came to be as it should have, these things would have a central body that you could take hold of or something like that. But Trinidad is claiming this is theirs. The Greater Tribal say, this is ours. So then who is even, okay, so just leave it alone and whoever wants it, give it to them. I think this is part of the problem. Another thing that we didn't touch on is the access of the history of the Caribbean being taught in school. The history of Black America is not taught in school, so therefore you know that the history of the Caribbean, I mean, there's no mention of it at all. So most times the Caribbean person born up here has very little leeway to knowing much of the actual history.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of talk about the Juneteenth and the this and that. In the islands, you have Emancipation Day. It's a holiday, but there's no major celebration to really what is emancipation. They just as it is, it's a holiday. As somebody said yesterday, oh, we'll soon everybody will go to Target and Macy's because that's what you connect a holiday with.
Right.
But I think if people get to know exactly what this thing is about, I think it's going to be a little better. So the people even born up here should make an effort to get to know the history a little. As I said, you won't get it in school. Most times you cannot even get it from your parents because they were so busy doing down there. And they come up here, the regular West Indian thing, doing 3 or 4 jobs, so you have no time to disseminate information to your children. And I think so. Most times you just have a meager amount of anything to really base your arguments on. Yeah. Most of the arguments are my parents was born there, and that's it. That's all they could say. So I think there needs to be a concerted effort to get that history out there somehow, and that's what I hope I could do eventually.
Yeah, this chick made that note earlier in the chat. She said, we don't pass down the history, we don't record the history, and then we get mad at youth for not knowing their history. I mean, you can't blame someone for not being, of the culture enough when you haven't taught them what it is.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know.
Andrea, thank you for commenting, Andrea. Andrea says both her parents are Jamaican. She was born in the US and raised in Jamaica. Her family members tell her all the time that she's not Jamaican, and she has this debate at least once a year. Well, Andrea, I'm glad we can have it on your behalf. Hopefully we gave you some arguments you can bring forward to them. There's people outside of the homeland. Yeah, this is a big sense of don't deny me. There's an overarching theme of it. If I'm not born in the island, or I don't spend all of my time, even if you're born there, you spend 2-3 years as a child on the island, and then you move and you live somewhere else. Don't deny me. If I actually want to claim that culture, please allow me.
Okay, but I could understand that, but my argument is based on people who were born here and for the most part don't want any part of the Caribbean. They are denying themselves, and therefore they make it difficult for me to want to accept you, because I just see you as part of them. You don't want to be part of me only when you come down for 2 weeks. Oh, I'm gonna go. Oh, you want to go to the beach every day? What's the mango tree? And only for the 2 weeks. But I'm saying, if you want to be, I don't think you should be denied. But I just think most of the Caribbean people that's born up here see themselves as American, and therefore it makes it easier for us in the diaspora to see them as non-Western.
Right. So we're doing it to ourselves, guys. So there's and that leads to say that there's a lot of trauma as well, right? So some people who are in the islands are preempting your shunning them, right? So they're saying, before you even deny your Caribbean culture, I'm going to deny it for you, because you're going to come here and you're going to spend your money and you're going to be flashy and you're going to be here for 1 week and you're just going to be on the resort and you're not going to come and hang out with us and you're going to be so flashy. You're not going to really get down to it. And so before you flex on me, I'm going to flex on you. You are not one of us. So that's there is trauma. There is trauma that is behind a lot of this. And there is issues of people trying to get ahead in the new land that they're in. So you say your parents or your grandparents, your auntie, whoever is with you is going to say, leave this at home. Learn the new ways of the new place you're in. Don't worry about back home. Don't worry about that. Back home going to stay there. It'll always be there. Don't worry about that. Learn the new ways, because that's going to get you ahead in life. And that's all we are concerned about.
That's all we want. That's all we need.
Right?
That's the crux of the problem.
Yeah.
That's the crux of the matter.
And then there's just wayward people like me who just want to hold on to the thing and say, but I am from St. Lucia. I'm from St. Lucia. And you're like, you know, you don't have to wave this flag right now. You could just calm down. But leave it alone. Listen, we're in the time of the Olympics, and you and I went through it, that I was always hopeful that I would represent Grenada in the Olympics.
Yeah.
You know, so meanwhile, other people, I still don't have a Grenadian passport right now to this day, but I really wanted to represent Grenada in the Olympics as long as I can remember being in athletics. But I appreciate your side of the argument. I appreciate you even taking this side of the argument, because I know it was not an easy one for you.
Yeah, it's difficult to be on that side.
Yes,
but I can understand it,
because I know you'd rather educate everybody and bring everybody into the fold instead of encouraging separation.
Yeah. That's right. What it is, really.
So I appreciate you for taking the side that you don't necessarily agree with. I appreciate you for taking time on Father's Day when you're supposed to be relaxing.
Well, I am relaxed now. I am with my daughter, so it's okay. It's Father's Day. Father's Day is still being celebrated and observed. Just like that.
And I thank you. Go ahead.
I'm glad that you invited me, and I'm glad that you thought of bringing a topic like that to light, because as you said, these arguments are held over and over in myriads of families. So now to bring it out and give it some kind of legs, I think it's food for thought, and I really hope that a lot of people start giving it some serious thought in their own lives. So great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And everybody, we're live on YouTube on the BK Rant Rave page. And this will be up. This will be saved on the page. And you can also go to bkrantandrave.com to watch this again and to give us your comments, of course. BK Rant Rave is the podcast, the brainchild of this chick, and I just go along for the ride. So could say so. We have done five series of the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and we are now in our second summer series. And this is a good one, I think. I really do. We are planning to have at least 4 more episodes. We want to start them, and we're going to have them as lives as well, because we want you to join in the conversation, and we're going to have them on Thursday evening. So please look out for the advertisements for the next top debate topic. I'd love to hear what your debate topics are. So please, you can go to the BK Rant and Rave Instagram page. You can DM us, you can comment on our latest post, and let us know what topics you want to have on this debate summer chat series, Can I Rant? And I think I'm gonna have to pull some rave tunes, because even though this is not a rant and rave, it's just a Can I Rant, I'm gonna have to pull some rave tunes out there. I just want to see some more comments we have in here. Brooklyn Psycho says he remembers a story about a Haitian dancer who went back to Haiti and the locals looked down on her being unable to speak the native Creole. Why do you have to be pressured when it doesn't even matter? Yeah, when I don't have a Grenadian accent, I don't. And I've been told I can find it for certain phrases. And that's about it. But I do not think that my Grenadian identity is connected to whether or not I have an accent.
Hello and hi.
Hello, hi. I could say that. I could say that, but listen, to me, there's so many things. There's so many things to it, and I think you could talk all day about what makes you Caribbean, what makes you of the culture. But stay tuned for the next episodes of the Can I Rant series, ladies and gentlemen. We will have some other guests, and they will not be debating with me. They will be debating amongst themselves. So please stay tuned for that. Thank you all for joining us on a Sunday evening. I appreciate you all. Have a great night. Good night.